Good afternoon. Welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this afternoon. There's a bit of news this afternoon, and I don't know how you'll feel about it because it is about Sean Maloney getting a top job at Celtic. Now, it's not the manager's job. It is a position at Celtic that Celtic haven't really had anyone in that position before. And is there any need for anyone in that position? I suppose it takes us into the running of modern football clubs, doesn't it? Been widely reported. I mean, when you look at Sean, we all know Sean Maloney's playing career. Came through the under 17s at Celtic in 2000, went into the under 20s 2001. Came from the under 20s into the Celtic first team when Martin O'Neill came to Celtic. And then 6 years later, in 2007, he was sold from Celtic to Aston Villa for 1.5 million. He spent a year at Aston Villa and he got homesick and he wanted to come back to Celtic. They bought him back for 3 million and then they sold him to Wigan in 2011. He was at Celtic from 2008 until 2011 and then he was sold to Wigan for 1.3 million. So as you could say, he was a good servant. He then went from Wigan to Chicago to Hull City, and then from Hull City, he retired in 2017. As a manager, he came back to Celtic at that time in 2018 after he retired. He was the Celtic under 20s manager back in 2017 to 2018. He was then promoted to the B team assistant manager in 2018, and then he went to work as assistant manager for Belgium with Roberto Martinez. He was at Belgium, he was assistant at Belgium from 2018 until 2021. You could say that's the high level football stuff. I mean, that's dealing with top international players. So he has earned the right. He did have he had the manager's job at Hibs for, was it 19 games or something? And he was ultimately sacked by them. And he then got the job at Wigan. And so he's in and about there for jobs. He was at Wigan, but his tenure was 2023 till 2025. He was then released by Wigan, sacked. The managers get sacked, don't they? They don't get released. And then he came back to Celtic in their hour of need on the 28th of October last year as the assistant manager. He then came back before he was the assistant manager. He was obviously the development, he was the pathway manager, and which was a strange one when it was announced in the summer. When Maloney isn't experienced enough day-to-day football, is not happy listening. Nice. How are you, Dermot? Hope you're good, my friend. When he came back as the pathway manager after Darren O'Dea left to go to Swansea to be Swansea's assistant manager, I thought at the time that position was way above his pay scale, and it got me wondering why Maloney would go down such a level, having been assistant manager at the B team before, having been assistant manager to an international team, having been a manager in his own right, to then go to being a pathway manager at Celtic. It just seemed weird. And it did get us talking at the time. Is he being lined up? Is Martinez coming in? Couldn't see him coming in to take the Celtic job. Celtic fans wouldn't like that. But as soon as he came in and did the pathway manager's job, within the first couple of months, the information that was coming out of Celtic and other clubs is Maloney was far better than Darren O'Dea at doing the job. And to have Sean Maloney having such success as pathway manager, he did say that he was going to stay at the club for 2 years. Now, the fact that he's now being linked with the director of football position at Celtic, I think that's a role that's quite suited to him. I don't know. I think it's a role that's quite suited to given given the profile of Sean Maloney, having assisted at the highest level, went to World Cups and stuff. Did they go to the World Cup? Well, it was before the World Cup, wasn't it? 2021. But anyway, he done fantastic with Belgium. So, do you think that Sean Maloney would be a fantastic director of football at Celtic? Kieran says, I would sooner have Neil Lennon back than Sean Maloney. Well, Sean Maloney's here, Neil Lennon's not. So, I'd rather have Maloney than Keane. Is Maloney ready though? We're talking about the we're not talking about the manager's job. We're talking about director of football. Sean Maloney's been linked to take over as director of football. Maloney has many contacts in the game. He has a good hit on his shoulder. It could be the perfect job for him, says Sugarman. I think it is. I mean, when you look at the contacts that he's made throughout his entire career, the way that not sure how to correctly appraise Sean for this spot. You have to give Sean Maloney and Fozzie and the backroom staff a lot of credit for what was achieved at Celtic. Martin O'Neill said it. He said, "Look, there's times that we've had formations and tactics during the game that all comes down to them. I don't agree with them. I don't agree with the way that the modern football is played, but we have to tactically be astute to play against teams that are playing a certain tactical way of modern football." For Martin O'Neill to come out and say that he could never have done this job, he could never. Martin O'Neill's getting all the plaudits, quite rightly so. Manager takes the plaudits when you win the league. You've done a great job. But the good thing about Martin O'Neill is when we did win the league, when we did win the cup at Hampden, Martin O'Neill got every single member of staff, because Martin O'Neill knows that this would not have been possible without all the members of staff that are there in the background. And a good manager does that. Where does it leave the manager's position? If, and it is just an if, but he is a contender. It's been widely reported in the media now that Sean Maloney is, for what he's done, and the fact that he was instrumental. He did have a lot to do with us retaining and well, achieving the double. He's under serious consideration for sporting director at Celtic. If Martin O'Neill's to go upstairs and do, if Martin O'Neill was to go upstairs and do another job, a job that's not day-to-day running and needs Martin O'Neill in an office every single day. We all know that Martin O'Neill, he's considering the role, but realistically, everything that he's been saying is, if you were to ask me tomorrow, would you do the job full time? No, I need a rest, son. I need a rest. It's I think that if Martin O'Neill does accept being the manager next season, it'll be fantastic. But I'm kind of thinking that it's not going to happen, and especially if it's now getting leaked out of Celtic that Sean Maloney is being put in place for a director of football job. For me, it says that the board would rather Sean Maloney and a director of football job, so that they can take the club forward to the next stage. We're getting a top recruitment guy to work with Sean Maloney as the director of football. You then bring in a manager that can handle the exertions of the modern game. The manager's got to be all in. Can Martin O'Neill physically, health-wise, he's fine, but the rigours of going away in pre-season, the pre-season camp away, the travelling back and forward for hopefully Champions League nights, is that something that Martin O'Neill really wants to be doing on a weekly basis? And I'm kind of thinking at his age, we should allow the man just to have a job. He should be moved up to upstairs to the job that Peter Lawwell had. If you want a spokesman of the club, if you want a father figure of the club, Martin O'Neill's your man all day long. He's someone that can talk to the fans. And listen, he stood on the steps at Celtic Park, and he said, "If you were one of the people who threw the bouncy balls onto the park, come and have a word with me." Do you know? I wonder if anybody would stick their head above the parapet or put their hand up in the air and go, "Martin, it was me." Boomf. Could you imagine the talking to if any of them did? Do you know? Um. Anyway, anyway, do you think that Sean Maloney would make a fantastic director of football? And who do you think will be the next manager of Celtic? And what position will Martin take up at the club? Travelling will make Martin think twice. I was. Celtic are a much harder job than most other clubs, in my opinion. Um, I'm like Tour 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 Tash. What on earth does that mean to be, mate? Anton Logan's like Tour hate. No idea what you're trying to do there. Martin wants to crack at the Champions League. Absolutely, considering another season. Do you think so? Think back to what he said when he came back from the European Games. He didn't enjoy it. Don't know. Um, he didn't enjoy it at all. He said it. Baz, you can have a coach and manager like Sean and Martin O'Neill. I wouldn't want Sean Maloney as manager, to be honest, because I think that we need to move on. The fact that Sean Maloney said, "Look," he turned around and said, I'll give the club 2 years." You know, he would give the club 2 years as pathway manager. He stood in front of the camera and said, "Look, I'll stand by that." You know, and this is maybe a way of getting Maloney to stay at the club a little bit longer by giving him a director of football job. It's obvious that people at Celtic know that Sean Maloney's ambitions are a lot higher than maybe his ambitions is director of football type thing. And Celtic are looking to gift horse in the mouth and go, "Do you know what? If that's the type of job we want, need a manager before picking a director of football. If Maloney does get the job, then I think Martin will be in the dugout next season." Do you think so? I'm not too sure about that. If Maloney does get the job, it's because no one else wants it. Oof. There's always a bit of negativity with our fans, isn't there? There's always. Dermot Desmond doesn't want the hassle of searching another boss too soon. He also wants to minimise the risk. That's why he is convinced O'Neill will take it for 12 months. Is that then holding the club back? Will that then lead to the time we get to August? We will see the resurgence of the Not Another Penny campaign. We'll see the resurgence of the Sack the Board campaign. The Willie Hockey thing will not have reached the numbers that it wanted. He will not have reached 54,000, 50,000 people signing up. There's all that still to be ironed out. It's fine putting Martin O'Neill upstairs, but if he doesn't get the players that he wants, and if it's seen as a cheap option by the club, by the fans, sorry, and it's probably seen as a cheap option by the club as well, because they wouldn't be paying Martin O'Neill $3 million a year. I very much doubt that. I mean, do you seriously think that they're going to pay Martin O'Neill the same as what they paid Brendan Rodgers? You would like to think so, but anyway, we need to get the checkbook out and sign a manager for the future. Yep, Martin O'Neill, Maloney for another year, and Maloney for the longer term. Hmm. I would put money on the board. Haven't even got a list yet. Ooh. Maloney is just another yes man for Dermot to use as his puppet. And there we go. That's why we're holding the club back, isn't it? Because it's we need to get it out. Martin will absolutely never divide his backstage if he takes the job. I mean, he can't help it. Um, could be holding the club back, but we are most likely to have another successful season under O'Neill. What does success look like, though? Does success is it just another? We've got a chance for real change at Celtic right now. A lot of fans have been crying out for change, and then we have it'll be another. It's okay, but it'll be another successful season. Is that not letting the board off with Blue Murder? Is that not letting the board just getting away with one? The easy option for the board is Martin going to stay on for another year because it's kept the fans off our back. You know, you've galvanised something here, brought a bit of togetherness. You know, it's like we'll deal with it down the road. They might forget about it. You know, we'll put the boys ultras back into that section, and if they step out of line, we'll ban the whole lot of them. We'll close the whole section down. That top bit as well. We'll close it all down. Is that what we really want? Bad did you know that Tony Bloom is the major shareholder of Belgium team Royal Union Saint? There you go. Australian team Melbourne. There they go. He's got. It's no wonder that FIFA and UEFA are looking into Tony Bloom. It would be absolutely hilarious if Hearts got chucked out of Europe because of Tony Bloom's involvement in a certain club in England. Dermot Desmond is scared of another fan revolt. He'll absolutely do what he can to keep this going. You know how it works. Well, that means we're holding the club. They are holding the club back. Then it's an easy option. So come August, the Not Another Penny campaign will start up. You'll have the Celtic fans collective wanting to argue with everybody that it's the right thing not to buy strips. We're then going to hold the club back when we go into Europe because we're going to be financially down on merchandise. That's not healthy. And if that's the way that the club want to go, you'd be as well saying that it's going to be another season of turmoil off the pitch because Celtic will definitely not go down the road. I don't think Celtic would give Martin O'Neill 30 million to spend on players. And if that's what's happening, if that is what happens, um, the fans will not like it one bit. They may rejoice at the fact that Martin O'Neill's staying, but once things start slipping next, you know, we just need to wait and see. Danny Cassie's in the house saying, well, I'm going to say, the wee one will win the treble next year. The treble. I just want us to win the league and do well in Europe. I'm not fussy for trebles anymore. Do you know? Not fussy for it. Anyway, it's just a quick one this afternoon. Sean Maloney has been linked heavily to take over the job as director of football at Celtic. Do you agree with it? Do you not? And who will be the next manager? On that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.